The red dust of Mars swirled outside the observatory dome as Jack Reed rubbed his tired eyes. 3 nights of scanning the same sector of space had left him exhausted, but something kept nagging at his instincts. The anomaly had appeared again, just a flicker, but definitely there. "Linda, are you seeing this?" Jack called over to his colleague. Dr. Linda Moore looked up from her console and adjusted her glasses. "I've been tracking it for the past hour. It's not natural. The pattern is too regular." The Mars Colony Observatory wasn't the most advanced facility in the solar system, but its position made it ideal for deep space observation. Established 15 years ago as humanity's first permanent off-Earth settlement, Mars Colony had grown from a research outpost to a thriving community of nearly 5,000 people. "I'm running it through the pattern recognition software again," Linda said, her fingers moving quickly across the holographic interface. "Whatever it is, it's getting closer." Jack stood up and stretched. Through the dome's transparent ceiling, he could see Earth, a blue jewel hanging in the black vastness. Sometimes he missed the oceans and forests of his home planet, but Mars had its own stark beauty. "Send the data to Earth Defense," he said. "This might be nothing, but better safe than sorry." Linda nodded and began the transmission. The Mars-Earth communication delay was only 8 minutes today. Not bad. They'd have a response soon. But they didn't need to wait for Earth's reply. Within minutes, their equipment detected something new. A powerful burst of energy, unlike anything they'd seen before. The observatory systems automatically switched to high alert. "Jack, look at this." Linda's voice cracked with urgency. On the main screen, multiple objects had appeared at the edge of their sensor range. They were moving fast, impossibly fast, and they were heading directly toward the solar system. "Those aren't asteroids," Jack said quietly. "Those are ships." Commander Ben Wilson was in the middle of a routine inspection aboard the UDF Sentinel, Earth's newest defense vessel, when the alert came through. "Sir, priority message from Mars Observatory," his communications officer reported. Wilson moved quickly to the command center. "Put it on screen." The message was brief but clear. Unknown objects approaching the solar system at high speed, exhibiting signs of artificial propulsion. First contact protocol was now in effect. "Alert Earth Command. Get me Admiral Grant," Wilson ordered, "and set course for Mars. We'll be the first line of defense if needed." As the Sentinel changed course, Wilson couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and dread. Humanity had been scanning the stars for signs of intelligent life for centuries. Now it seemed they had found it, or rather, it had found them. On Earth, Admiral Thomas Grant stood before the United Defense Force Council, his face grim. "Ladies and gentlemen, as of 600 hours Mars Standard Time, we have confirmed the presence of non-human vessels entering our solar system," he said. "We are now at first contact status." The council chamber erupted in murmurs and exclamations. Grant raised his hand for silence. "We don't know their intentions yet. We've attempted communication on all frequencies, but so far, no response." Council President Maria Rogers leaned forward. "What's their trajectory?" "Initially toward Mars, but they've changed course multiple times. Some appear to be heading toward our outer mining operations near Jupiter and Saturn. Others are moving toward Neptune." Grant pointed to the holographic display showing the solar system and the incoming vessels marked in red. "How many ships are we talking about?" asked Defense Minister Park. "We've identified 27 distinct vessels so far, varying in size. Our scans suggest they're heavily armed." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "We need to activate the full fleet," Grant continued, "and evacuate the smaller outposts if possible." President Rogers nodded. "Approved. But maintain the first contact protocol. No aggressive actions unless they fire first." 3 days passed with no direct contact from the alien vessels. They continued their methodical approach through the outer solar system, seemingly analyzing everything in their path. Earth's outgoing messages remained unanswered. Then disaster struck. "Admiral Grant, We've lost contact with Research Station Galileo near Europa. The young officer's voice was strained. Grant rushed to the command center. What happened? We're not sure, sir. They were transmitting normally, then reported an unknown ship approaching. And then, nothing. Grant's jaw tightened. Show me the last transmission. The screen flickered to life, showing the face of Dr. Alex Turner, the station's director. His expression was one of confusion, not fear. This is Research Station Galileo. We have visual contact with an unidentified vessel. It doesn't match any known human designs. We're trying to establish communication, but the image suddenly filled with static, then went black. That was 12 minutes ago, sir, the officer said quietly. Grant turned to his communications chief. Contact all outer system stations. Full evacuation, effective immediately. And get me the Sentinel. On Mars, Jack and Linda had barely slept since their discovery. They were now part of an emergency response team, coordinating with Earth defense. Another transport has gone missing. Linda reported, her face pale. That's the third one in 2 days. Jack studied the tactical display. They're avoiding our military vessels but targeting civilian operations, research stations, mining outposts, medical transports, anything that looks vulnerable. But why? If they have the technology for interstellar travel, why pick on our smallest facilities? The answer came sooner than they expected. A partial transmission was received from a damaged transport ship that had managed to escape. They call themselves the Voran Empire. They said this is how they test new species. They target the weakest first to see if we're worthy of their attention. If we can't protect our vulnerable, they consider us prey. Jack and Linda exchanged horrified looks. We need to get this to Admiral Grant now, Jack said. The first clear images of the Voran ships arrived that evening. They were sleek, predatory designs with forward-sweeping angles that reminded Jack of Earth's ancient naval destroyers. Their hulls were dark metallic, absorbing rather than reflecting light, perfect for stealth approaches. Admiral Grant's face appeared on their communication screen, his expression grave. We've confirmed attacks on 7 facilities in the outer system, he said. No survivors found yet. The Vorans are sending us a message with these attacks. They're testing us, Linda said, seeing how we respond when our weakest are threatened. Grant nodded. Exactly. And they've completely misunderstood humanity. They think targeting the vulnerable demonstrates our weakness. His eyes hardened. They're about to learn it's our greatest strength. The Admiral outlined the initial defensive plan. Earth's fleet was mobilizing, with priority given to evacuating remaining civilian operations in the outer system. Meanwhile, combat vessels were moving into position. The Sentinel will reach Mars in 6 hours, Grant informed them. You two will be evacuated with the rest of the non-essential personnel. Jack stepped forward. Sir, with respect, we know these readings better than anyone. We might spot something others miss. Grant considered this, then nodded. Very well. Report to Commander Wilson when he arrives. But be ready to leave at a moment's notice. After the transmission ended, Jack and Linda returned to their monitoring stations. Outside, the Martian sunset painted the landscape in shades of red and gold. Somewhere beyond that peaceful view, an alien force was systematically targeting human outposts, starting with the most vulnerable. They picked the wrong species to test, Jack said quietly. Linda nodded, her expression resolute. If they think attacking our weakest is our vulnerability, they have no idea what's coming. The long night ahead would be just the beginning of humanity's response. Earth's fleet was mobilizing, and soon the Voran Empire would learn a harsh lesson about human nature. Those who prey on the vulnerable awaken humanity's most formidable strength, our unwavering protection of those who cannot protect themselves. Admiral Thomas Grant stood at the command center of Earth Defense Headquarters, surrounded by holographic displays of the solar system. Red markers indicating Voran ships had multiplied over the past 24 hours. Status report on Neptune mining colonies, Grant ordered. his voice calm despite the crisis unfolding. Colonel Ana Rodriguez stepped forward. "Not good, sir. We've lost contact with 3 of the 5 main facilities. The remaining 2 have activated emergency protocols and are evacuating to the underground shelters." Grant studied the tactical display. The Neptune colonies were humanity's most distant permanent settlement, established to harvest the valuable gases in Neptune's atmosphere. Nearly 800 people lived and worked there, mostly miners and their families. "The Vorons are concentrating their forces near Neptune," Grant observed. "They think the colonies are easy targets." "They're about to learn otherwise," Rodriguez said. Grant nodded. "Deploy Battle Group 7. And get me Captain Stone on the line." Captain Alexis Stone had been asleep for barely 3 hours when the alert sounded. She was on the bridge of the UDF, defiant within minutes, still fastening her uniform jacket. "Captain on the bridge," announced her first officer, Commander Mike Taylor. Stone moved directly to the command chair. "Status: Admiral Grant is waiting to speak with you," Taylor reported, "and we've received emergency deployment orders." The main screen activated, showing Admiral Grant's face. He wasted no time on pleasantries. "Captain Stone, the Neptune colonies are under attack. Battle Group 7 is deploying, with Defiant as lead ship. Your primary mission is rescue and evacuation of civilians. Secondary objective is to engage the enemy and gather tactical data on their capabilities." Stone nodded. "Understood, Admiral. Time to arrival at Neptune. At maximum burn, 18 hours. But you'll likely encounter Voron ships before then." "We'll be ready, sir." "One more thing, Captain," Grant added, his expression grim. "Early reports suggest the Vorons are specifically targeting medical facilities and evacuation transports. They're going after the most vulnerable first." Stone felt a cold anger settle in her chest. "Then we'll show them the cost of such tactics." The UDF Defiant led a formation of 7 ships toward Neptune. As the newest and most advanced vessel in Earth's fleet, Defiant combined speed with firepower. Its sleek hull housed experimental weapons systems that had never been tested in actual combat. On the bridge, Captain Stone reviewed the latest intelligence reports. "The Vorons have a distinct tactical pattern," she told her officers. "They bypass defensive installations and military targets, focusing instead on civilian infrastructure. Based on the limited footage we've recovered, their ships are formidable, but not invulnerable." Commander Taylor pointed to the tactical display. "We're picking up distress signals from Mining Station Beta. It's under heavy attack." Stone made her decision quickly. "Adjust course. Maximum speed. Alert medical to prepare for casualties." As Defiant changed course, Stone studied the enemy ships on the display. The Voron vessels were unlike anything humans had built, organic-looking craft with curved asymmetrical designs. "They want to see how we respond when our weakest are attacked," Stone said quietly. "Let's show them." The scene that greeted Battle Group 7 as they approached Neptune was chaos. 3 Voron warships were systematically destroying the orbital platforms around Mining Station Beta. Escape pods and small transport ships fled in all directions, pursued by smaller Voron attack craft. "They're hunting the evacuees," Commander Taylor said in disgust. Stone's voice was steel. "Defensive Formation Alpha. Protect those transports at all costs. Weapons free." The Earth ships moved with precision, placing themselves between the fleeing civilians and the Voron attackers. Defiant took point, its advanced shields absorbing the first volley from the nearest Voron ship. "Return fire," Stone ordered. "Target their weapon systems only. I want prisoners if possible." Defiant's main guns fired, striking the lead Voron ship with surprising effect. The alien vessel shuddered, its forward section darkening as systems failed. "They weren't expecting resistance," Taylor observed. "They thought this would be easy." The battle intensified as the Vorons adjusted their tactics. 2 of their ships focused fire on Defiant, while the third continued pursuing civilian vessels. "Divert power to forward shields," Stone commanded. and launch interceptors to protect those transports. Small fighter craft shot from Defiance launch bays, racing toward the civilian ships. On the tactical display, Stone watched as one Voran vessel broke off to engage the new threat. "Sir," called the communications officer, "we're receiving a transmission from the Vorans." Stone raised an eyebrow. "Let's hear it." The bridge speakers crackled with a harsh, mechanical voice, clearly translated through some kind of device. "Human vessels. Your resistance is noted. We are Voran. We test. We judge. Your weak ones fall easily." Stone leaned forward. "Open a channel." When the connection was established, she spoke clearly and deliberately. "Voran vessels, this is Captain Alexis Stone of the Earth Defense Force. You have attacked unarmed civilians and medical transports. In human culture, this is considered the act of cowards. Surrender now, or face the consequences." There was a pause before the reply came. "Interesting. You value your weak ones. This is unusual. We will study this aspect of your species further." The communication cut off abruptly. "They're powering up weapons again," reported the tactical officer. Stone's expression hardened. "Then they've made their choice. All ships, coordinated attack pattern. Show them what happens when you target those under our protection." For 3 hours, the battle raged around Neptune. The humans fought with a ferocity that seemed to surprise the Vorans. 2 Earth vessels were severely damaged, but the Defiant led a relentless counterattack that disabled one Voran ship and forced the others to retreat. As the last Voran vessel disappeared from their sensors, Stone ordered immediate rescue operations. "Status of mining station Beta?" she asked. "Heavily damaged, Captain, but the main habitat ring is intact. Approximately 300 survivors confirmed, with another 100 unaccounted for." Stone nodded. "Send in the medical teams. I want every survivor found and treated." As the rescue operations began, Stone received a private communication from Admiral Grant. "Well done, Captain. You've given us our first victory, and more importantly, valuable intelligence." Stone's face was grim. "The Vorans seemed genuinely surprised that we would protect our vulnerable, sir. They called it unusual." Grant nodded. "That confirms our theory. They see compassion as weakness, something to exploit. In their culture, the strong apparently abandon the weak. A fatal misunderstanding on their part." Stone replied. "Indeed, we've intercepted communications between their ships. Their commander, someone called Drek, has requested reinforcements. They're planning something bigger." Stone looked out at the damaged mining station. "Then we'll be ready, sir. They've revealed something crucial about themselves today." "What's that, Captain?" "They don't understand that humanity's greatest strength isn't in our weapons or our technology. It's in our unwillingness to abandon each other." She paused. "And they just made it personal for every human in this fleet." As the call ended, Stone watched the medical ships docking with the damaged station. The Vorans had made a critical error in their assessment of humanity. They had assumed that targeting the vulnerable would demonstrate human weakness. Instead, they had awakened humanity's most formidable quality, the fierce, unwavering protection of those who cannot protect themselves. The Vorans had revealed their tactical doctrine, and now Earth would show them just how costly that mistake would be. The opening salvo had been fired. Now the real battle would begin. Admiral Grant paced the war room aboard the UDF Olympus, Earth's largest battleship. The central holographic table displayed the current positions of both human and Voran vessels throughout the solar system. Though the victory at Neptune had boosted morale, Grant knew the Vorans would adapt quickly. "They're regrouping near Saturn's rings," said Colonel Rodriguez, pointing to a cluster of red markers. "Reinforcements arrived 6 hours ago. We count at least 15 vessels now, including 3 larger than anything we've seen before." Grant stopped pacing and studied the map thoughtfully. "They've shown us their strategy. Target the weak. Avoid direct military confrontation until they've assessed our capabilities." He looked up at the officers gathered around the table. It's time we use that against them. Operation Guardian, Grant announced, a plan that will turn the Voron's predatory nature into a trap. The officers leaned forward as Grant began outlining his strategy. The Vorons believe we're vulnerable because we protect our weakest. They see compassion as a flaw to exploit. Grant's voice hardened. Let's show them how wrong they are. 3 days later, Captain Stone stood on the bridge of the Defiant, watching as the medical transport ships formed their convoy near Jupiter. To all appearances, they were normal evacuation vessels, white hulls marked with red crosses, minimal defensive capabilities, slow engines. 20 ships in total, supposedly carrying wounded from the Neptune attack and civilian scientists from Jupiter's research stations. But appearances were deceiving. All ships report ready, Captain, Commander Taylor said. Stone nodded. Begin broadcasting on all emergency frequencies. Make sure the distress calls sound authentic. Taylor gave the order, and soon the convoy was filling the communication channels with calls for assistance and reports of engine troubles. To any listening Voron ships, it would appear that a group of vulnerable, damaged vessels was struggling to reach Mars. Now we wait, Stone said. They didn't have to wait long. Within hours, their long-range sensors detected Voron ships changing course, moving toward the convoy's position just beyond Jupiter's orbit. 6 vessels approaching, reported the tactical officer. 3 destroyers and 3 smaller attack craft. Stone smiled grimly. Right on schedule. Time to spring the trap. Signal the fleet. Throughout the convoy, the medical ships began a subtle transformation. Hidden weapon ports opened along their hulls. Powerful engines, previously running at minimal capacity, surged to full power. And from behind Jupiter's largest moon, 5 Earth battleships emerged, their weapons charged and ready. The Vorons believe we would leave our medical ships unprotected, Stone said. A costly assumption. Aboard the lead Voron ship, Commander Drek observed the human convoy with anticipation. These human vessels were clearly damaged and vulnerable, perfect targets to continue testing this species' resolve. Prepare attack pattern, Drek ordered. Target the largest medical transport first. I want to see how the others respond when their weakest are destroyed. His tactical officer input the commands, but suddenly paused. Commander detecting energy spikes from the transport ships. They're powering weapons. Drek moved quickly to the sensor display. Impossible. Those are medical vessels. Sir, Earth warships detected behind Ganymede. We're surrounded. Drek's yellow eyes widened as he realized the truth. It's a trap. Captain Stone watched with satisfaction as the Voron ships frantically adjusted their formation. They took the bait. All ships, execute attack pattern Delta. Target their engines and weapon systems. I want them disabled, not destroyed. The battle erupted with sudden intensity. The disguised medical ships revealed themselves to be heavily armed escort vessels, designed to look harmless until the moment of attack. They formed a tight defensive perimeter while the Earth battleships closed in from behind. The Vorons are trying to break through our eastern flank, Taylor reported. Not today, Stone replied. Squadrons 2 and 3, close that gap. Show them no mercy. Earth fighters swarmed from their carriers, intercepting the Voron ships attempting to escape. The battle spread across a vast section of space, the darkness lit by weapons fire and explosions. Stone focused on the Voron command ship, a larger vessel directing the others. Target their communications array, she ordered. Let's isolate them from each other. Defiant's main guns fired, striking the Voron flagship with precision. The alien vessel shuddered, its communication systems going dark. They're confused, Taylor observed. Their ships are losing coordination. Stone nodded. Now for Phase 2. All ships, execute containment protocol. The Earth vessels began a complex maneuver, surrounding the Voron ships in an ever-tightening net. With their communications disrupted and escape routes blocked, the alien vessels found themselves in an impossible position. Voron ships are powering down weapons, reported the tactical officer. They're surrendering. Stone raised an eyebrow. That's unexpected. Open a channel to their flagship. After a moment, the main screen activated, showing Commander Drek. The Voron's appearance startled everyone on the bridge. Tall and thin with yellowish skin and large compound eyes like those of an insect. When he spoke, his voice was translated by a device at his neck. Human Captain. This deception. Unexpected. Effective. We acknowledge your tactical superiority in this engagement. Stone kept her expression neutral. Commander Drek, your ships targeted civilian and medical vessels, beings who could not defend themselves. In doing so, you've discovered something fundamental about humanity that you fail to understand. Drek's large eyes blinked slowly. Explain. When you threaten our most vulnerable, you don't expose our weakness. You awaken our greatest strength. Our compassion isn't a flaw. It's why we fight. The Voron commander seemed to consider this. An interesting perspective. Different from Voron way. We abandon weak, strengthen species. And yet here you are, defeated by those who refuse to abandon anyone. Stone replied. Consider that carefully. Admiral Grant received the news of the victory with satisfaction, but no celebration. The captured Voron ships were being towed to a secure facility near Mars, and the crews were under guard. More importantly, they had sent a clear message. The Vorons are already adapting their strategy, Rodriguez reported. Their ships are no longer exclusively targeting civilian facilities. They're engaging our military vessels directly now. Grant nodded. Good. That means Operation Guardian worked. We've forced them to recognize us as equals, not just prey. What's our next moves, sir? Grant studied the tactical display, where a large concentration of Voron ships was gathering at the edge of the solar system. They'll be more cautious now, but also more aggressive. We've wounded their pride. He pointed to the display. Their main fleet is still out there, watching and waiting. This was just their advance force. Do you think they'll leave? Asked Rodriguez. Grant shook his head. No. Commander Drek's capture will force them to respond. They can't allow a defeat like this to go unchallenged. He straightened his uniform. We've won the first real battle, but the war is just beginning. Across the solar system, Earth's fleet moved into defensive positions. The victory at Jupiter had shifted the momentum, but everyone knew the Vorons would return in greater numbers. The strategic turn had been made. Humanity had shown that those who targeted their most vulnerable would face not weakness, but the full, righteous fury of Earth's defenders. The trap had worked perfectly. Now they needed to prepare for the inevitable counterattack. The mood in Earth's central command chamber was tense. Admiral Grant stood at the head of the long table, facing the 12 members of the military council. The wall screens displayed real-time updates from across the solar system. Earth's defenses, Voron ship movements, and casualty reports from the recent battles. The Vorons have withdrawn to the Kuiper Belt, Grant explained, pointing to the tactical display. But our intelligence suggests they're regrouping, not retreating. Their main fleet is still approaching, at least 40 capital ships. Defense Minister Park leaned forward. What about the prisoners? Has Commander Drek provided any useful information? Some, Grant replied. The Vorons are a strictly hierarchical species. They expand their empire by testing potential opponents, targeting the weak first to gauge the overall response. If they deem a species worthy, they offer alliance or vassalage. If not, he didn't need to finish the sentence. General Bill Mason, head of Earth's ground forces, slammed his fist on the table. They've killed over 2,000 civilians, destroyed 5 colonies. We should hit them back, hard. Target their support ships, their supply lines. His eyes narrowed. Let them feel what it's like to have their vulnerable ones attacked. A murmur of agreement spread through the room. I disagree, said a quiet voice from the end of the table. All heads turned toward Commander James Wilson, who had been silent until now. As the youngest member of the council and head of the ethics division, Wilson often found himself at odds with the more aggressive generals. "You have something to add, Commander?" Grant asked. Wilson stood slowly. "If we target their non-combatants, their support vessels, their medical ships, assuming they even have such things, what would that make us?" He looked around the table. "We'd become exactly what we're fighting against." "This is war, not a philosophy class," Mason retorted. "They started this by targeting our weakest. And that's precisely why we can't do the same," Wilson insisted. "Our moral principles aren't just luxuries for peacetime. They define who we are, even, especially, in war." The room erupted in argument. Some council members supported Mason's call for retribution, while others aligned with Wilson's ethical stance. Admiral Grant let the debate continue for several minutes before raising his hand for silence. "Both perspectives have merit," he said carefully. "But I believe there's a third option, one that maintains our principles while demonstrating our resolve." All eyes turned to him expectantly. "We show overwhelming force," Grant continued, "but we direct it precisely at their military capabilities. We don't become what we despise, but we ensure they never threaten our vulnerable again." He turned to the tactical display. "And I believe Captain Stone has already begun developing the technology to make this possible." In the research labs aboard the UDF Defiant, Captain Stone examined the new weapon system with mixed feelings. The captured Voran technology had provided invaluable insights, allowing Earth scientists to develop countermeasures with remarkable speed. "The neutralizer is ready for field testing," said Dr. Ray Wilson, the lead weapons developer. "It targets their ship's energy systems without destroying the vessels themselves. Essentially, it renders them powerless without killing the crews." Stone studied the schematics, "And you're certain it won't cause their life support to fail?" "Positive. We've tested it extensively on the captured Voran scout ship. It disables their weapons, engines, and communications, but leaves basic life support intact." Stone nodded slowly. "A weapon that neutralizes without destroying. It's exactly what Admiral Grant requested." Dr. Wilson hesitated. "There's something else you should see, Captain." He led her to another section of the lab, where a holographic display showed detailed scans of Voran biology. "We've been studying the prisoners, particularly Commander Drek," Wilson explained. "The Vorans have a unique neurological structure. Their brains process fear differently than ours. They literally cannot understand why we would risk ourselves for others." Stone frowned. "Are you saying their behavior is biological, not cultural?" "It appears to be both. Their society reinforces what their biology predisposes them toward, seeing the protection of the vulnerable as irrational." Wilson pointed to a specific brain scan. "However, they're capable of learning. Commander Drek's neural patterns have shown subtle changes since his capture. He's trying to understand us." Stone considered this information carefully. "So they can change, adapt their thinking?" "Potentially, yes, but it would require significant exposure to different values." Stone's communicator chimed, interrupting the conversation. "Captain, we've detected a Voran scout ship approaching Mars orbit. It's broadcasting on our frequencies. They're requesting to speak with you specifically." Stone exchanged a surprised look with Dr. Wilson. "I'm on my way to the bridge." When Stone arrived, the main screen showed a Voran officer, not Drek, but one of similar rank based on the markings on his uniform. "I am Sub-Commander Krell," the Voran announced. "I speak for the Voran High Command in Commander Drek's absence." Stone took her position at the command chair. "This is Captain Stone of the UDF Defiant. State your purpose, Sub-Commander." "We have observed your species' unusual behavior," Krell said, his translated voice betraying no emotion. "You protect your weakest units at great cost. This is inefficient, yet you have demonstrated significant military capability." The Voran paused. "We wish to understand this contradiction." Stone chose her words carefully. "There is no contradiction. Our strength comes precisely from our protection of those who cannot protect themselves. It is not inefficiency. It is our greatest purpose." Krell seemed to consider this. We have terms to propose. Return Commander Drek and our captured vessels. In exchange, we will withdraw from your system and classify your species as unsuitable for testing. Unsuitable, Stone repeated. Your methods are incompatible with our evaluation standards. You are anomalous. Stone couldn't help the small smile. I'm afraid those terms are unacceptable, Sub-Commander. We have terms of our own. Remove all Voran forces from our solar system immediately. Release any human prisoners you've taken. Then we can discuss the return of Commander Drek and your vessels. The Voran's compound eyes narrowed. You are not in a position to make demands. I believe our recent victories suggest otherwise. The communication ended abruptly. Stone turned to her tactical officer. Track that scout ship. I want to know exactly where it goes. Back in the council chamber, Admiral Grant received Stone's report with grim satisfaction. So they're interested in negotiation, however one-sided their offer, he said. I don't trust them, Mason growled. This could be a delaying tactic while their main fleet arrives. Commander Wilson spoke up, or it could be a genuine attempt to understand us. Dr. Wilson's research suggests the Vorans might be capable of changing their perspective. Grant nodded thoughtfully. Either way, we continue with our plan. Captain Stone will leave a special mission into Voran-controlled space. The council members looked surprised. A mission? Park asked. What kind of mission? Intelligence suggests they're holding human survivors from the Neptune colonies on one of their command ships. Grant explained. Captain Stone will lead a rescue operation, behind enemy lines. Mason shook his head. That's extremely risky. Yes, Grant agreed. But we don't abandon our people, even when it's dangerous to save them. That's the message we need to send the Vorans. He looked around the table. That's how we win this war, not just with weapons, but with unwavering principles. As the council meeting adjourned, the moral dilemma had been resolved. Earth would fight, fiercely, decisively, but would not abandon the values that defined humanity. They would show no mercy to those who targeted the vulnerable, but neither would they become what they fought against. The Voran Empire was about to learn that humanity's moral strength was as formidable as its military might. The vast darkness of space beyond Pluto's orbit was broken by the steady advance of Earth's assembled fleet. 127 ships moved in perfect formation. Battleships, carriers, cruisers, and support vessels. At the center flew the UDF Olympus, Admiral Grant's flagship, flanked by the battle-scarred Defiant under Captain Stone's command. On the bridge of the Olympus, Grant watched the tactical display with steady eyes. The Voran fleet waited ahead, a force nearly matching Earth's in number but exceeding it in raw firepower. All ships report ready, Admiral, Colonel Rodriguez announced. Defense systems at maximum. The neutralizer technology has been distributed to all frontline vessels. Grant nodded. And the special rescue team. In position. Captain Stone's strike force is ready to launch once the main engagement begins. Grant took a deep breath. This was humanity's moment of truth. The past 3 weeks had seen skirmishes across the solar system, but this would be the decisive battle. The full might of Earth against the Voran Empire's invasion force. Open a channel to the Voran command ship, Grant ordered. The main screen flickered, then revealed a large Voran officer adorned with elaborate markings, High Commander Vrax, leader of the Voran expedition. Human Admiral. Vrax said, his translated voice cold and mechanical. Your species continues to resist evaluation. Inefficient. Wasteful. Grant stood tall. High Commander Vrax, this is Admiral Thomas Grant of the United Earth Defense Force. Your forces have attacked our colonies, murdered our civilians, and targeted our most vulnerable. These actions stop today. The Voran commander's compound eyes gleamed. We follow the natural order. The strong survive. The weak perish. This is universal law. Not our law, Grant replied firmly. Humanity stands united by our commitment to protect each other. especially those who cannot protect themselves. He paused. I offer you one opportunity to withdraw from our system peacefully. Release your human prisoners, and there need be no further bloodshed. Vrax made a sound that the translator didn't convert, perhaps laughter or scorn. You offer mercy from a position of weakness. Your compassion blinds you to reality. Human, we have studied your tactics. Your need to protect your weak points makes you vulnerable. Grant's expression remained steady. That's where you're wrong, Commander. Our compassion isn't our weakness. It's the source of our strength. And today, you'll understand why. He signaled to Rodriguez to cut the transmission. All ships, Grant commanded, execute Operation Final Guardian. As the massive fleets engaged, Captain Stone led a small team aboard a modified stealth shuttle. While the main battle drew the Voron's attention, her mission was critical. Rescue the human prisoners from the Voron command carrier stationed at the rear of their formation. Approaching target, reported Lieutenant Dan Foster, the shuttle pilot. Their defenses are focused outward toward the main battle. Stone checked her tactical display. The shuttle's advanced stealth technology, partly developed from captured Voron systems, had gotten them this far undetected. Team leader, status, Stone asked over the secure channel. Ready, Captain, replied Commander Mike Taylor from the shuttle's hold, where 20 elite soldiers waited in full combat gear. We get in, find our people, and get out while the Vorons are busy with our fleet. Stone nodded. Remember, we've studied their ship layouts from Drek's captured vessel. The prisoner section should be on the lower decks, and the neutralizer devices should disable their internal weapons without affecting life support. The shuttle slipped closer to the massive Voron carrier, approaching a secondary hangar that their intelligence suggested would be less defended. 30 seconds to contact, Foster announced. No sign they've detected us. Stone took a deep breath. Let's bring our people home. On the main battlefield, Earth's fleet executed a complex defensive formation that confused the Voron commanders. Rather than separating their military vessels from support ships as the Vorons expected, the human fleet integrated them completely. Medical ships protected by destroyers, civilian transports flanked by battlecruisers. They're trying to find our weak points, Grant observed as the Voron ships probed different sections of their formation. They still don't understand. The first Voron attack came swiftly, a wedge formation of destroyers attempting to break through Earth's eastern flank, where several medical frigates were stationed. They took the bait, Rodriguez said. Grant nodded. Activate Defense Grid Alpha. Deploy the neutralizer. As the Voron ships closed in, expecting to find vulnerable targets, they instead encountered a wall of specialized energy fields. The neutralizer technology, derived from their own systems, targeted the Voron ships with precision. One by one, their weapons went silent, their engines failed, and their communications died. First wave neutralized, reported the tactical officer. 11 Voron ships disabled, 0 destroyed. Grant allowed himself a small smile. Begin Phase 2. Inside the Voron command carrier, Stone's team moved swiftly through the corridors. The neutralizer devices had worked perfectly, disabling the ship's internal defense systems without alerting the main bridge. Life signs ahead, Taylor reported, checking his scanner. Definitely human. They approached a sealed door guarded by 2 Voron soldiers. Before the aliens could react, Taylor's team fired stun weapons, another technology adapted from Voron designs. Clear, Taylor announced as the guards collapsed. Stone examined the door's locking mechanism. Same design as on Drek's ship. Lieutenant Park, you're up. The team's tech specialist stepped forward, attaching a bypass device to the control panel. After a tense moment, the door slid open. Inside, they found what they'd been hoping for. 63 human survivors from the Neptune colonies, confined but alive. United Earth Defense Force, Stone announced to the stunned prisoners. We're here to take you home. A thin man with a medical insignia stepped forward. Captain, we thought everyone had forgotten about us. Stone placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. That's not how humanity works, Doctor. We never leave our people behind. On the Olympus, Grant watched as the battle unfolded exactly as planned. The Voran fleet, expecting to find weakness in Earth's protection of its support ships, instead encountered a perfectly coordinated defensive system. They're falling back, Rodriguez reported. Their forward vessels are trying to regroup. And Stone's team. Extraction successful, Admiral. All prisoners recovered. The shuttle is returning to the Defiant. Grant nodded with satisfaction. Now for the final message. All ships, execute closing maneuver. Earth's fleet began an intricate pattern surrounding the remaining active Voran ships. The neutralizer technology had disabled nearly half their fleet without destroying a single vessel, a demonstration of both power and restraint that the Vorans clearly hadn't expected. High Commander Vrax is hailing us, the communications officer reported. Grant straightened his uniform. On screen, the Voran commander appeared, his composure noticeably shaken. Your tactics are unexpected, Admiral. You could destroy our vessels, yet you merely disable them. As I told you, Commander, our strength comes from our compassion, not despite it. Grant's voice was firm but not triumphant. We fight to protect, not to destroy. But make no mistake, we will show no mercy to those who target our vulnerable. Vrax was silent for a moment. The human prisoners have been recovered from our command carrier, an impressive feat. We don't abandon our people, Grant replied simply. Now, I'll ask once more. Will you withdraw from our system peacefully? The Voran commander seemed to struggle internally before responding. The Voran Empire has existed for 8,000 years. We have never retreated. He paused. But we have never encountered a species like yours. You fight with both ferocity and restraint, a contradiction we must reconsider. Is that a yes, Commander? We will withdraw to evaluate these findings. Your species requires further study, from a distance. 1 week later, Admiral Grant stood with Captain Stone on the observation deck of Earth Defense Headquarters. Below them, the blue-green planet rotated peacefully. The last Voran ship crossed Neptune's orbit this morning, Grant said. Long-range sensors show their fleet is continuing outward, away from our system. Stone nodded. And Commander Drek. Released as agreed, but not before he had some interesting conversations with Commander Wilson and the Ethics Division. Grant smiled slightly. It seems our prisoner developed some unusual ideas during his captivity. Such as, that perhaps the Voran way isn't the only way. That protection of the vulnerable might not be inefficiency but a different kind of strength. Grant turned to face her. He requested permission to remain behind, actually. Said he wanted to learn more. Stone raised her eyebrows in surprise. The High Command wouldn't allow that, I imagine. No, but it suggests something important. They can change. They can learn. Together they watched Earth turn below them, its cities glittering in the darkness. We showed them something they didn't expect, Stone said quietly. Not just our weapons or our tactics, but our fundamental nature. We proved that compassion isn't weakness, it's humanity's greatest strength. Grant nodded, and sent a message to anyone else watching from the stars. Earth protects its own. The vulnerable were their targets, and our fleet showed no mercy. The solar system was quiet once more. But humanity remained vigilant, its fleets patrolling the outer reaches, its colonies rebuilding. They had faced their first contact with an alien civilization and emerged not just victorious, but with their principles intact. The Voran Empire had learned a crucial lesson. Those who prey on the weak would face the full righteous power of humanity united. It was a lesson the galaxy would not soon forget.